Hello everyone, I'm back after a week off from the Winging It F1 podcast, and as usual I'm with Adam Dickinson and Freddie Coates for a roundup, I guess, of the latest news in F1 after the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Yes, the season may have ended, but there's been plenty of talking points since who won the race. Max Verstappen crossed the finish line in Yas Marina on Sunday. First big news is that Sergio Perez is going to drive for Red Bull in 2021. With Alexander Albon, who I love, obviously, has been dropped has been now made reserve driver for next year as well as test driver. I think this is going to be a big talking point for us. How are you guys doing first? I've just remembered I forgot to ask you that.
That's all right. I thought you were just going to go straight into the Perez news, to be honest. I didn't think you were going to stop. I'm good, to be honest. It feels like there's more to talk about than there was before Abu Dhabi, really, or Bahrain or lots of the other races this season. So, it's been quite an interesting week for F1, and looking forward to talking about all of it, starting with the Albon and Perez news.
It's amazing how we're still getting this buzz from F1. You kind of think, it's flat when the season finishes in Abu Dhabi, and you think, well, there we go. That leaves me to not really worry about much until the new year, till testing kicks off again. But it's like F1 doesn't stop with the news, does it? And I'm still pretty excited from everything that's happening. There's been so much going on this week.
You say F1 doesn't stop with the news. About mid-January, when all there is car livery reveals going on, I think then it might be a bit more of a challenge, but
yeah, a lot has happened, but there is confirmation as we speak that Perez will be at Red Bull for next year. Is this the right thing for Red Bull, do you think? Adam, let's start off with you.
Yes and no. I think yes in the current situation. I don't think it's what they would have wanted. I think their big USP kind of since coming into F1 has been that, they do kind of promote from within. It's, a project throughout the whole of motorsport, really, or the whole of open cockpit, single-seater motorsport. But on the flip side, they've not got a driver within their system who is capable of delivering what they need to. I think in the current situation that they're in with the drivers they've got, with Albon not being able to make his mark at all really over the season and a half that he's had in the team, I think, it's the right decision, hopefully just for the short term, because I do think they do a great job of kind of promoting new talent within the sport. But right decision for the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Freddie, go on.
I agree. I think, like Adam said, Albon hasn't really been able to offer up the goods that Red Bull have required from them. And it's all well and good people saying it was the same for Gasly, it's all about the car. Well, what they need then is a driver who can drive that car. And Albon and Gasly both couldn't drive that car. So maybe Perez can, because Perez is a performer who has been able to do fantastic things in the majority of the machinery he's been in Formula One. And he's proven that over since 2011, over 10 seasons, basically. So I think Red Bull haven't taken a punt by signing Perez. They have secured a one-year deal with a very solid race-winning driver, which is the first driver since Mark Webber, I think, to be part of Red Bull's program from outside of the program. They obviously had talks with Hamilton in 2013, and Alonso pretends to have spoken to them pretty much every week. But apart from that, it's a big move for them as a company to do this move.
Is it the first race winner for Vettel to sign for the team?
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. It's not Fiat,
Vettel,
Ricardo, Gasly, yeah. That's
Coulthard and Vettel were the only race winners to have been signed by Red Bull, yeah.
I mean, he literally only just won a couple of weeks ago somehow, but, he could get more wins next year, which would be incredible. And for Perez, I think it's good in a way because he's only 30, and if he did go out of F1, I don't think it would be right, because I think he's more than capable to still be on the grid. For me, I just want to see the best drivers possible in the best cars, and Perez is an upgrade on Albon, I think. So,
Yeah.
and I fully expect Perez to be closer in every single department. So I think it's it's great for Perez, great for Red Bull. I think it's good for the sport as well, because I think Verstappen might now get pushed next year. What do you guys think on that?
I think I would just say that it is a bit of a risk. Maybe less so because it doesn't look like he had tons of other options on the table. Although I don't know how the chronology went, whether he kind of had Red Bull. He was pretty in on Red Bull, and that meant he turned down offers from other teams or whatever. But I do think, if he goes in and does get kind of decently beaten by Verstappen, it could be quite a negative thing, kind of mentally, I guess, for coming onto the grid, with another team or whatever. But equally, this kind of seemed like the last chance for him to stay on the grid, and I think, yeah, as you've said, it's having the best drivers in the best cars is always what we want in F1, and we've got that at the moment. And yeah, I think if you can get some competition going for Albon, Verstappen, that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, he's been candid about speaking about options he had for 2022 as well. So I think he's already looking for the future of not being with Red Bull. I think he's very circumspect and very honest with what he's been saying. And I think he's a clever guy. He knows realistically this is a stopgap for Red Bull as much as it is now realistically a really good opportunity, but also a stopgap for him for the future of F1, his future in F1. So I think for Perez, he's just got to grab the bull by the horns, if you will, and do the best he can. And if you're right, it's a bit make or break for him, really, because I think Hulkenberg said he would expect to be within 0.3 of Verstappen, I think. So I think Perez is probably going to be going in with that kind of goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Red Bull have lost Aston Martin as a title sponsor as well, so Perez will bring in that extra money. And also Red Bull tend to go well in Mexico. So imagine a Mexican home win for Perez in the Red Bull. That would be brilliant. But that's 10 months down the line.
Yeah.
That would be excellent.
I know. That'd be one of the best F1 moments of the decade, really, of the century, or what, I think of recent memory, having that would be, it'd be on a par with Lewis winning at Silverstone in 2008 or something like that.
That podium in the Forest Stadium with Sergio Perez on it he wouldn't get off it. He would be the DJ for the next 2 or 3 hours in that stadium. And I think that would be the best thing to happen at that I don't think that Mexico Grand Prix wouldn't be able to top it.
And then, at what point then kind of, it's completed itself as a thing. But I guess before I was just thinking about Perez at McLaren and how that kind of damaged his, fairly or unfairly, it did damage his career, and it took a while to kind of build up to a level that he had at Sauber before he went to McLaren. So I think that's just kind of the only worry I have for him, because, he's a class act, and I do want to see him on the grid for years to come, not just this year to come.
Yeah, the way he rebuilt himself after that McLaren year, which wasn't as bad as it's remembered, but wasn't good with him in terms of team relationship and stuff like that. And he was very young. He was about 22, 23. He's the same age as Albon is probably now, actually. And Perez, he had a rough time of it, but he regrouped and he came back and look at where he is now. And I think that's what Alex Albon probably needs to look at, really, to sort of think, I've been kept on as a test and reserve driver, which is a really good role for Red Bull. They need an experienced driver to be focusing on 2022, which is what they've got now. In the background, they've got as experienced as you can be Formula One driver, focusing entirely on a 2022 car, which is what Red Bull need if they want to get a jump. And I think Albon needs to look at that and go, okay, he had a bad season then, and now he's just taken my seat. So if Albon can stay pally with a few people and he can get a seat again, he really needs to look at that and focus on how he can regroup.
Do you think Albon, so is it right that he's not on the grid next year, Adam, do you think, or is this,
It's a tough one. I think in the same way that when Gasly was at Red Bull, his stock dropped massively. It's the same with Albon, but he was really strong in his first year, and I think that shouldn't be forgotten. I think there is still some of that in there. So I definitely think I think there's a strong possibility he'd improve some of the lower order teams. On the flip side, there's quite a few drivers who probably should be on the grid, and his performances over the last year probably haven't warranted that drive, maybe. So I think it would be a massive shame for his F1 career to finish like this, because I do think he has more to offer to the sport, but maybe a year out is the best thing for him.
Yeah, his early 2019 season in Toro Rosso was excellent. He came in and was on Kvyat's pace. And Kvyat's, at that stage, he'd been out of F1 for a year, but in Toro Rosso, in his other stint at Toro Rosso in 2014, when he just came in, he was really good as well. So Kvyat is a fast driver, and when he puts it together, Albon was able to keep with him. Hockenheim stands out as he was driver of the day for me in Hockenheim, I think for quite a few people. He was fantastic. He was running fourth behind Hamilton, Verstappen and Bottas, pretty much, fourth or fifth. And that was excellent. He was doing a brilliant job. And only because there was a late safety car gamble with Stroll and Kvyat did he really miss out on a podium in that race, frankly. So Albon really did earn the position to be promoted when there was one, from when Gasly needed to be demoted from Red Bull. Albon earned that seat then. And you're right, he had a really good 2019 season, and he's had some highs this year. His Abu Dhabi drive was fantastic, really. The Red Bull was the class of the field, so that probably flattered it a touch, but he was able to stay fighting. Basically, he was a second and a half off Lewis at the end. So, not bad. I know you're looking despondent at something, Albon. Go on.
It wasn't fantastic, though. I mean, how far off was he? What does Shane qualify? I don't think he's been within 3 tenths. We've been on tracks that have been like 1 minute long. So,
yeah, I think the closest was Sakir, where he was about 3 tenths. But
yeah, and as Verstappen would have had bad days this year as well. We just haven't been able to see it because of how far Albon has been away. But I will say, I don't think we have seen the best of Albon, and I do think he should get another chance at a team. I just don't think he's anywhere near ready for a top team.
I'd agree with that.
He has shown that this year. He has, in my opinion, he's been one of the worst drivers at a top team for probably this century, I'd say. I think the only other contender would be Massa at Ferrari when he was Alonso's teammate.
Luca Badour.
I was about to say Luca Badour.
He wasn't great. In fairness.
Ferrari were a top team that season.
Kimi Räikkönen at Ferrari, kind of over in his second spell.
That's an interesting conversation for the off-season. Who would you rate better at Ferrari, Räikkönen or Massa? We don't need to go into that now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame, really, because we're not going to be able to talk about Albon for probably another year. So,
what's this podcast going to be about, Nigel? How are you going to have anything to say?
Talk about 19 other drivers.
Did you see that test that Albon did in the simulator?
Just me ranted about Albon.
I mean, yeah, especially if for whatever reason Hamilton doesn't re-sign with Mercedes. What then? What happens then? Yeah, we have to talk about 18 other drivers. But
Albon could have gone to AlphaTauri. Some people think he should have. Instead, it is Yuki Tsunoda who will take that seat. He will take Danica Kvyat's seat next year. Tsunoda, for me, he was the F2 Rookie of the Year. He was given that award, and he was in the standings, I think. But he was a long stretch ahead of Schumacher and Arlott for me. Do you think it's too early for Tsunoda to be promoted to F1?
His rise has been pretty good, hasn't it? Japanese F4, FIA F3, F2, F1. And then presumably, apparently, they want him in Red Bull for 2022. So, wow, what is he going to win the championship in 2023? So, this guy, they've got faith in him. They've got more faith in him than a Red Bull. I remember Red Bull having in a driver for a long time, not since their glory days of 2014-15 promoting Verstappen, really. Have they had this much faith in a driver? Maybe when they had faith, they had a lot of faith in Kvyat as well, and that sort of has finally fallen off. So I'm tentative to shout about it because we haven't seen it yet. But I think Red Bull have had faith in drivers in the past, and it's gone pretty well for them. So hopefully it can deliver for Tsunoda, because he has, as you say, had a really good F2 season. He's got 3 poles and 3 wins, I think. And as a rookie, that's really good. The rookie of the year in 2019 was Guanyu Zhou, who got 1 pole, and he was rookie of the year. So well done, Yuki Tsunoda. You've done much better than the year before in F2. And
he's older than you, Freddie, as well, isn't he?
he's younger than me. He's
Is
a
he younger?
2000 born. As a 99 baby myself, I have found a grey hair. I mean, Lando Norris is younger than me. I had to deal with this years ago, so I don't cry to sleep anymore.
It's all right, It's all right, Nigel. We only talk about Freddie's age every time we mention his Twitter in every episode, but you know, it's fine.
Yeah, Adam, if you was in charge of AlphaTauri, would you have taken Albon or Tsunoda?
As much as I like Albon, it's not there as it's not there as a Red Bull reserve team. It's there to give drivers who they think can do well at Red Bull an opportunity to get onto the grid to acclimatise and then go into the top team and then win races and championships. So having Albon and Gasly go back down would have just been completely, against what the point is of the team, really. And so, yeah, I think Tsunoda is the best decision. I think take a driver while they're hot. You don't know. In sport and F1, we've seen over this year and last year in F2, nothing's really certain. And all it takes is, a few bad races, a bad season, and, you've completely dropped off, like Guanyu Zhou, who we've already mentioned. So I think it's absolutely the right decision. There's always, I think, trying to plot out his future, kind of 2022, 23 seems extremely, I just can't think of the word, but, it feels like too soon to be doing that. It's because you don't know how drivers are going to adapt to F1 and you don't know how they're going to adapt to new cars. And so, yeah, I think all of that should be taken away, really. And he's going in a really tough team environment against Pierre Gasly. That's not, that's about to be a fire if ever there was one. And yeah, I think just take that pressure off. Just look at his performances and judge, look at his benchmark in Melbourne and then look at where he is, in 5 races time, in 10 races time at the end of the season. And if he's improving consistently over that time, then that's what he should be judged on. But yeah, absolutely the right decision.
Yeah, and AlphaTauri, the PR line for AlphaTauri now is that it's its own team. It's not Toro Rosso. It's not the junior team. It's the sister team. So to have it, as you say, as a demotion is not going with the PR line that the head honchos at Red Bull want to see. They want to see, the reason it's AlphaTauri is to promote another brand, not just to promote the same brand twice. So AlphaTauri realistically now needs to have more money put into it so it's on a par with Red Bull, which is what they're going for with the budget cap. That's why this rebrand has been forced through. So to have Pierre Gasly as a leader of that team, Max Verstappen as a leader of the Red Bull team, gives them sort of a 2-pronged attack rather than a formation, basically, if that makes sense. They don't have one top team and one mid team. They're aiming to have 2 top teams. So to have Albon go back to AlphaTauri when that's what they're trying to push completely negates any of the press they're trying to get, frankly.
I'd just like to say, I still don't like the fact that it's called AlphaTauri. I much preferred it as Toro Rosso, and it was a nostalgic team, and I like the livery, and they've been through several liveries, and it was one of the few things that was similar to the grid from when I started watching in 07, 08, and the fact that they've changed that, and they've now got 2 Alphas on the grid, which is confusing, and its delivery is not as good, even though it is quite good. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of all of that. And we weren't doing the podcast when they switched the name, but I'm just using this as an opportunity to rant about that because I don't like it at all. And yeah, not happy.
Just call it Minardi and be done with it. We weren't doing the podcast and they switched it to that name as well, but because we were all
Rosso.
children.
Just Toro Rosso forever.
Yeah.
Until they sell the team. That's fine. Everyone wants that.
And then they can do like
I agree.
another team. They can do like whatever Red Bull is in German, and in another team they can do it like in Portuguese at Red Bull, and everyone can have different names in different languages. And they basically call it the Red Bull Championship.
Yeah, I mean, on Tsunoda, I think he's a massive talent because to come from Japan just 2 years ago into F3 and F2 to learn all the tracks, to adapt to the new culture, which is massive. Japan to Europe. I don't think people would quite appreciate the differences between Japan and what we have in Europe. And yeah, like I said, on the motor sport side of things, having to learn the tracks when other people have been racing on round in Europe for 4 or 5 years. He showed he's got great pace in qualifying. He adapted to the Pirelli tyre rubber really well. He improved across the season after a slightly tricky start. I'd say I think he did make some mistakes early on, but I think he's a quick learner, and I really do think he can do something great at AlphaTauri next year. Adam.
He'll be such an asset to that team just as a person as well. Carlin this year have absolutely adored him. They've absolutely loved having him at that team. He hasn't complained. He's got on with the job. He's done what he needs to do. And like you say, he's a fast learner. He's picked up. He's put the work in. He's tried to be better. He can sense, I need to get these. He knows his targets and he's achieved those targets, but he's also surpassed those targets. So I think AlphaTauri have got a pretty decent guy on their books.
He's the only driver that I can think of that still has F4 points on his license, on his super license. That just shows how meteoric his rise has been.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
He's only short as well. He's only 5'2" apparently, and weighs 54 kilograms.
54 kilograms?
Remarkable. 54 kilograms, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's similar to me, and I'm a stick, basically. But yeah, I think he's going to be a fantastic prospect for F1 and for AlphaTauri.
His hair must take up quite a lot of his weight because he's got quite, more hair.
Oh, he's got lovely hair.
Or someone. So, at least 12 kilograms of that must be just hair then. And then, you've got 40 kilograms of Tsunoda. And
how heavy is your hair if you're taking that as the reference? You have kilograms of hair on your head just anyway.
I mean, I don't know, but my hair's not as long as his, or not as big as his. Voluminous? I don't know. But yeah, especially if you're only 52 kilograms, that's going to be a bit more of a
volume. Hair volume.
Going to take more of your, bigger proportion of your total weight. That's a weird tangent to go off on.
Anyone else with lots of hair in F1 we want to talk about?
No.
I mean, Lewis has just basically revealed his massive afro. It looks great.
Well, Daniel Ricciardo shouldn't say
Daniel
that.
Ricciardo's cut off all his hair.
No, I nearly said something that might have not been appropriate for YouTube.
Oh my goodness! Don't continue. Move on.
Moving on.
Let's move on to Danny Kvyat.
Yes, let's do that.
He's gone. He's out. He's finished.
He's out of F1. Yeah. Thanks. I nearly skipped that. Thank goodness you said it. Yeah, it's a shame.
That's all right.
Because, I mean, he's had his second chance, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Do you think it will be permanent? I think it will.
Yeah, he'll be a Ferrari test driver before you know it. Like he was in 2018.
He's done brilliant to recover from where he was at that low point when he went out of F1 the first time, though. I think he's done a pretty good job the last 2 seasons.
I think what he's got out of F1, he's got a couple of podiums and, 5 years driving overall? Maybe a bit more. Yeah. And, if you offer that to career to a lot of people, they take it with both hands. And, as you've said, lots of drivers don't get a second chance in F1. So the fact that he's had that, and been able to get a few more years in a podium out of it, it's nice for him. But equally, I think those are the drivers that could use that grid spot more going forward. Maybe Albon. So, I mean, not specifically AlphaTauri, but yeah, I think it feels a bit like Grosjean and Magnussen that he's had his run, but
Yeah, he's got a few hundred points, over 100 races. Pretty good. And that's it. He's not. He's only 26. But he's not got a career to be ashamed of. He's got parts of his career that obviously he regrets, but it's the way he's bounced back from those with his 2019-20 seasons as a fast driver. He's not let the issues that really did hamper him in 2017 and 16. He's not let them come in and completely ruin his speed that he does have, that is there. So he's done well in his comeback, and he's a fast driver, and he definitely warranted his space in Formula One. But like you say, other people are warranting their spaces in Formula One, and it's unfortunately just the end of the road for him. He had some really nice moments in Formula One. His China podium I thought was fantastic in 2016, where he earned himself the name Torpedo. Yeah.
His fastest lap in Barcelona 2016.
That was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Us.
It's the only fastest lap I remembered, and you guys didn't have any idea about it when we did our quiz.
Don't worry, I won't forget it after that.
Because you went through 19 drivers on the 22 driver grid or something.
Pretty much, yes. Is it Julian Palmer?
Was it Nico Rosberg who crashed out on lap 1?
I don't know. Maybe he did a really fast few corners.
He'll be missed because he's a really blindingly fast driver, but he's such an honest day driver to such a level in the fact that this year he's been able to be put to shame by Gasly. He had some really good drives once he got on top of the AlphaTauri at the end of the year, but it was way too late. If he had done that in round 4 or 5, then he would have had a fantastic season. But unfortunately, Gasly just got on top of the car way quicker than he did. It took him to like Bahrain to get on top of this car from the looks, from the results. So shame for him, but
yeah. I mean, as you guys know, I think Kvyat was unlucky last year to not get the Red Bull drive ahead of Albon. I know many people won't agree with that, but things could have turned out quite differently. I agree with that. If that did happen. But, yeah.
We don't agree with that, Nigel, mate. So
I know. Yeah.
Bully for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Danny Kvyat. I think you're right. I think he will be a test driver or reserve driver somewhere. So he'll still be around in the paddock. The big news, or the other big news from Friday, as we're recording this, was that Ineos is going to be in F1. Yes, the old cycling team, and the news story that gave us 3,500 views on YouTube back in September has come back, and yeah, they're going to take a 33% stake into the Mercedes F1 team. The other 33% is Daimler, and Toto Wolff is the other third of the shares. I'm just reading if there's anything else to do with it. But Eddie Jordan was right.
Eddie Jordan predicted that they would take a 60% stake in the team, and that Daimler would have like a 30% and Wolff a 10%, something like that. So he's right in the machinations that were the chats that were going on, but the outcome is slightly different to what he said. But that's fine. We can give him a hamper or something. And yeah, so Wolff has got I think the interesting part on this is the stake in Wolff that Wolff has in the team, because I think his stake has got a little bit bigger. So he's got
stayed for 3 years, I forgot to say as well.
And for 3 years, that's a good point. He's saying it's the current role for 3 years. So his level of importance in this team has got bigger, and because clearly he knows his worth to Daimler, and Ineos I think really like Wolff as well from the way they've got involved in this. It's Ineos, Daimler, and Wolff Formula One team basically. Daimler have been able to cut a profit from it by selling off their shares as well, which is exactly what they want as a works Formula One manufacturer, to keep them pretty, to keep them sweet. Because realistically, why would they stay? They've broken the record. So they're staying because they're now able to turn a profit from it. And as we go into the cost cap era of Formula One in a couple of weeks, then they'll be able to turn a profit from Formula One as well from that, if the franchise is working. That's the Liberty buzzword, I think. So
it works for everyone, this deal, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's good. As much as I think the little red Ineos patch on the Mercedes car looks a bit naff. Beggars can't be choosers. It's good for the future of Formula One, really.
I like the little red stripe. It works.
Beggars can be choosers.
Look. Okay, don't kind of class either of us as beggars, really. But
I'm going to go begging later.
Okay.
Adam, what are your thoughts on the leader of Ineos, Sir John? Is it Ratcliffe? Yeah.
Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah.
Should I not have asked that?
I mean, it's. I like that he bought Team Sky and allowed that to continue, and they've been a success this year and look to be more of a British team than they were in the last few years of being Sky, because they've got some good riders coming through. And equally, he's buying into British success in F1 and allowing that to continue. I think on the flip side, he's a big Brexiteer, and he campaigned for it, and now he's got this Grenadier vehicle that they're building, and they've switched it to making it in France rather than in Wales, South Wales, one of the areas that has been hit by declining coal industry over the last few years, and that will be probably hit hardest by Brexit. And it's just annoys me, really, because it's not putting your money where your mouth is at all. It's the same with Dyson, but this isn't the Winging It Brexit podcast. This is the Winging It one podcast.
If you had a Brexit podcast called Winging It, that would be supporting the government, really. But we're not going to get.
Have been the strategy, to be honest.
Yeah, I've ranted to Adam about Brexit quite a few times, I think, in the past.
Did it over a table tennis match.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Mutual.
Who won the match?
No.
I don't play with points because I'm that bad. So Adam just hits things at me,
you don't
and
play
I
with
sometimes
the
hit
table
them
either,
back.
to be honest.
Yeah, but that's more fun.
It is, to be fair. It gets the calories going a bit more.
Build up a sweat.
Yeah.
Petronas will remain as the team's title partner. So,
Which is interesting, considering they're both chemicals companies.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Yeah.
But so that is interesting in terms of the wider future. If we're going to become a corporate podcast now, interesting in the wider future of Petronas and Ineos as separate entities in themselves. Maybe they'll partner globally, and because Petronas realistically is quite an Asian company, and Ineos, like you say, is quite a British company. So Ineos is rolling out a bit more of their PR. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Ineos Petronas partnership in a couple of years' time. But to be honest, I'm not that fussed.
I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the good news for F1 is that Mercedes, it looks like, at least for the medium, maybe even long term, Mercedes will remain, because I think there was a lot of rumours, speculation that Mercedes would drop everything, and Toto Wolff, would even leave his role, but he's going to stay a few more years. So I think that's great for F1. And I think Toto Wolff, he's probably the person in the paddock who's gained the most respect, probably gained the most money over the last 10 years. He really has just zoomed up the F1 ladder. He's done some incredible things on and off the track with Mercedes.
It's probably between him and Lauda, both at Mercedes. So, yeah, and the other piece of news that will hopefully follow this is Lewis Hamilton announcing that he's re-signing at Mercedes, because, from everything we've heard...
announced that?
No, I hope not. If he has, then I'm going to look silly. But, what he'd been... Has he?
I don't think he has, no. I don't think he's announced now, but I think you're right, Adam. I think he would have been waiting for these talks to play out, because then he knows who to talk to. Maybe he can cut a salary from Ratcliffe.
Everything we've been hearing was Wolff's future was quite a big part of his decision to stay at Mercedes. So, we talk, you'd hear, the TV coverage, they talk to Wolff and he'd say, oh yeah, I definitely expect to be at Mercedes. And, Lewis would say the same thing, but it kind of all felt a bit, was it just lip service? So I think, possibly the biggest thing to come out of this will be that Hamilton will re-sign now, maybe for 3 years. Who knows?
I think for 3 years seems the logical idea, really. If Wolff's staying for 3, Hamilton would hopefully stay for 3. I think it'd be very nice to him to stay with this team that has committed to Formula One now, and will definitely commit to him, I think. So I think that's good for Mercedes, good for Hamilton, good for Daimler, good for Ineos, good for Wolff, good for them all. Not good for Lawrence Stroll, who definitely wanted Toto Wolff in Aston Martin.
Yes. There we go. So that's the big news. That's out of the way. The other news
Hit
from
me
this
with little
week is that
news.
Williams have appointed Jos Capito, who used to be the Volkswagen WRC team leader.
What a name that is.
He worked with McLaren as well a few years ago for a bit.
Yeah,
Sounds
the
like
new
Don Quixote
CEO
or
of
something.
Williams.
That's brilliant. I love that.
If that's a good or bad thing, I guess we'll have to see.
I think it's pretty good. They've kept Simon Roberts. He's now official team principal as well, which I think is the more important announcement, really, because Simon Roberts, he's been with the team basically most of this year as interim team principal, and it keeps the continuity, and they know what they're doing for 2021 and 2022, really. So keeping the faith in Williams is good from the new ownership, frankly, from Doralton Capital. Had to think about that. Couldn't remember at all who they were. One of the most innocuous names of an ownership, but there we are. I think, keep the faith in Williams. Hopefully we can see Williams progress a little bit more. It's realistically going to be the same for 2021, isn't it? The same cars, basically. But for 2022, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get a decent car from Williams.
I mean, Jos Capito, when he was at WRC, he was utterly dominant with Volkswagen and Sebastian Ogier. He won 3 titles in a row. He was a bit, what's the word? He had some interesting views on WRC, I'll say that, which hopefully won't bring him to F1. But he's got a lot of experience. As you said, Freddie, he's been with McLaren, although he joined when there was a whole Ron Dennis saga going on. So I think it's a good move for Williams to bring him into the team, and I think we will only see how he does, how well he can do, and how much he can bring the team forward in 2 or 3 years. I'm stuttering so badly.
I think it's a very interesting signing. I think it's a very interesting signing in terms of the way Doralton have gone about working with the team as their investors, because they could have easily just gone in with a corporate mindset, but they've really delved into the world of motorsport and have found Jos Capito and have got him into this role. And I think they've not gone for a name; they've got a half name, really, if you will, Capito. And so they've got
the other half Jos.
Yeah, the other half is Yost, but as in, like, he's not like, it's not like they've gone out and gone, let's go and hire Rory Byrne or someone like that and just put someone really massive at the top of the team. They've gone and got someone who's got experience and got success, but also has really got a really good understanding and really good work and really good worth for that success. So I think it's a really good move from Doralton in the way for the future of Williams as well.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to say on this. I've opinion myself.
Okay,
out.
Sometimes we don't always have opinions on everything.
Ineos and Toro Rosso, so I'll take a back seat for this one.
The F1 calendar has been given the green light by the FIA and the World Motorsport Council this week. The big thing from it was that Brazil, or now the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, has now got a 5-year deal to remain at Interlagos. It's a track that many people love, I guess. So, good thing for F1, Adam?
I think it's a brilliant thing for F1 because new tracks aren't coming onto the calendar that are like Interlagos. And, it's one of my favourite tracks, possibly my favourite track of the calendar. And I'm just really happy for it to be back on the calendar and for 5 years. That's massive. It's not puts to bed some of the short-term things, and a lot of things about F1 will have changed in the next 5 years. So it's I'm really happy to see that. I think that's my favourite news of the week, actually. That's come through.
I concur. It's excellent. Great track. Love it.
Yeah. The calendar or the season will start in Australia on the 21st of March, and Melbourne does plan to have fans there in March. Hopefully that does happen. And it is going to be the longest F1 season ever, with 23 races, which is too many. What is going to happen?
Lots of podcasts.
Yeah, 46 podcasts.
Oh, dear.
To be exact.
To be fair, we've had 40. This is what, episode 45. So
yeah. 45. Wow, incredible. Stay tuned for all 46.
If you watch and listen to them all, you won't get a sticker, but you can make one if you want.
Yeah, actually, I'll get someone a sticker if they listen to them all.
Okay, Adam will get you. Adam, can I have a sticker?
What?
Can I have a sticker, please?
Not including the people in
it. More track news is that Catalonia is going to change turn 10, which is, for those who don't know, at the end of the back straight, the left-hand hairpin. Well, it would have been a left-hand hairpin. Instead, they're going to go the longer way around, which is what MotoGP used. They're going to do it because of safety concerns. But in a way, I think it makes things better almost, because there's now going to be gravel, I think, on the outside rather than a big tarmac runoff, I think, if I'm thinking about it right. So,
safety concerns.
That's what they said, yeah. That's the reason they're changing it, is because of safety concerns. That's what I read.
So is it safer for the cars to carry on going at a higher speed there than it is to go slower?
That's what I thought as well. Well, I'll tell you what, Freddie. I will try to talk very slowly so I can find an article and read you the quote. So
That's okay. That's okay. While you're doing that,
Adam, what do you think about other team names?
Why haven't they changed the chicane at the end of the lap? Because to me, it feels like if you're going to make a track change, well, I mean, ideally you do both, and then you'll have a really nice section, from about turn 7 all the way to the chicane at the end of the home straight. But yeah, just why have they not changed that? It's what everyone has been calling for, and yeah, it just makes the lap so much better, especially with this change. I don't think this change is a good thing, though. It's a step, and it shows that hopefully they are listening to people, and they're not just like, oh, well, Catalonia is a boring race, but hey, we're fine with that. I think, yeah, to me, it seems like they're actually trying to change some of it, so that's a good thing.
It feels like they keep that chicane in there so they can be a testing track, and so they can keep getting F1 to come there in February and March, so they can say they can get revenue then as well as in May for the Grand Prix. But then testing's going to Bahrain this year anyway, so they failed.
It for the race. Well, just change it for the race weekend.
Exactly.
It would be better for teams, for there to be a bit of difference in the track, so that it's not exactly the same. It's not difficult to do.
It would turn it to a cool high-speed track.
Oh, yeah.
It would be exciting to watch the cars there. You get the cars to be able to follow going around the back of the track, and then rather than being separated in the wash from a really fiddly, slow box of a bit of track, they can go into like a nice flow really fast into the straight, and then be side by side for the majority of the straight. Mansell and Senna going side by side, it didn't happen out of DRS or any chicane. It happened because they were able to follow through the fast sweeping corners like you can in Mugello, in Silverstone, parts of Spa. So Parabolica. So it's that kind of mindset they don't have in Spain because they're being stubborn.
Stu Mansell and Bruno Senna, good.
Christian Mansell, British F4 driver.
Fast corners that lead onto a straight where you can go flat out is what creates good racing. We saw it in Portimao as well, because when the car in front is turning, they're scrubbing off speed, whereas the car behind, because they're in the slipstream, they gain speed, so it exacerbates the run you get if you're behind. Whereas a slow corner, the car behind is always going to get onto the power later, which is the exact problem with Catalonia. But yeah, it is safety concerns, is what they said. They said the change will allow for an extension of the runoff at the turn, thus increasing the safety distance, and it will also lead to the return of origin layout.
Yeah, it's the layout in 1991 when they started there, but they don't care about that because they haven't done it at the other side of the track. So 2 fingers to them.
Yeah, I think it's to also help the bikes as well, apparently. Although I just don't know why F1 and MotoGP just, well, they've been using
MotoGP use it anyway, don't they?
Ages. Yeah. So it's a bit of a strange one. But like you guys, I don't think it's going to really change anything. If anything, it'll make it worse because now they've kind of got rid of an overtake.
One of the, yeah.
I know we didn't see too many overtakes there anyway.
They've extended
such a big braking distance. Now the braking distance will be a lot shorter.
they'll have extended the DRS zone at least by 100, 200 meters, I guess.
true.
But it's still going to be a narrow bit of track, and it's kind of a bit like Spoon Curve, where you can't really get alongside to get an overtake unless you're really alongside. Spoon at Suzuka, that is. And which means that it would be perfect to set it up to go round the loop at the back, but it hasn't because it's not there. So, I think rather than now we don't have Alex Albon to lambast every week, we should lambast Barcelona every week.
Yeah, then we won't get paddock passes when we all become top F1 journalists in 10 years.
Yes,
just for Barcelona though.
Yeah.
Get to every other track, and then Barcelona will just have to sit in a hotel and watch it on the TV.
We'll be in a car park opposite, doing doing our reports.
I mean, Freddie's already had a paddock pass in Barcelona, so.
Oh yeah,
they have. It was great.
Me and Nigel are behind, really.
You can literally see the Ibis hotel where we picked them up from the paddock, so you can just go to the hotel, so it's fine.
Interesting.
Top tip for people who want to go to Catalunya.
Yeah, insider information.
So that is nearly everything on this podcast. Adam wants to talk about Sports Personality of the Year because Lewis Hamilton is one of the 6 contenders on Sunday, live on BBC One at 8 o'clock, I think. If I was voted, which I'm not going to, I wouldn't vote for him personally, which I'm. So.
All right, Ronnie O'Sullivan fan.
Yeah. There we go. Adam, what do you want to say on Hamilton and Sports?
I like Spotty anyway, especially since when they had like 16 people on the short list and they'd have to do like Lewis Hamilton with Charlotte Desjardins on like together. that was a bit of a strange one. So now they've slimmed it down. I like it a lot more. I think he should win. He's finished he's finished second 4 times in Spotty. And he's won once. But yeah, I would vote for him, and I will vote for him. And I think he should win, really. I mean, Stuart Broad has had a good year, but, it's team sports tend to do less well than...
Stuart Broad's 150 to 1 to win.
Jordan Henderson, I can see maybe getting some. Holly Doyle, I don't know anything about.
Holly Doyle is a good jockey. She's a very good jockey who's done very well this year in a very difficult year as a jockey. And she's second favourite to win after Hamilton, actually. I just checked the odds now. And
I would have thought Fury would be.
Fury and Henderson are both 25 to 1 on Sky Bet. This is Stuart Broad is 150 to 1. Ronnie O'Sullivan's 10 to 1. Holly Doyle 9 to 4. Lewis Hamilton 1 to 2. I mean, he's nearly nailed on favourite as Hamilton there, I'd say. So
I mean, the one thing I not worry because it's not really a worry, but in 2009 when Jenson Button won the World Championship, he should have won Spotty that year, but instead it went to Ryan Giggs. And I think the same thing might happen here with all the Liverpool fans will vote for Henderson. Henderson might end up winning it, even though it might not be the right thing, and Hamilton should really win it. Because I think if you look at performances and the achievements this year, you're right, Adam, Hamilton should win it. I've got a sneaking suspicion that Henderson might end up grabbing it.
I'd agree, but also Hamilton isn't Button. He's a lot higher profile. So I think that will kind of, it's different levels really.
Damon Hill won it twice. So if Damon Hill can win it twice, even in 1994, then I mean, I don't know what that says about the British sport in the 90s, but Damon Hill had that kind of star quality in the UK as a motorsport driver that I think is way comparable to what Hamilton has now, because Hamilton's even bigger now, way bigger than what Hill ever was. And Hill was massive in the UK, massive.
Team GB won 1 gold medal at Atlanta 96 Olympics. So I think that might put into perspective a bit of what British sport...
for Christie?
No, it was the rowing. I think Steve Grave. I don't know if individual or with Pinsett or whatever. No, that's canoeing, I think.
Yeah, I did some canoeing.
But yeah, he should win. And I think with all the off-track stuff that he's done this year with Black Lives Matter and coronavirus, I think that should raise his profile a bit. And yeah, I think maybe more neutrals might be voting for that as well. He should win. He really should.
He's won it
didn't
twice,
think
hasn't
about
he?
that, actually, Adam. I think you've raised a good point there. I retract my statement from before. Vote Hamilton.
So who were
Definitely
you
vote
planning to vote for then? Before?
Ronnie.
Or not? Why did I ask? I shouldn't have had to ask.
I mean, he has had a good snooker year.
Mm.
I mean,
Like
he's
all his
never.
snooker years.
This is the first time he's been nominated. He's ridiculous. He's been around for 25 years, top of the game, world number one, won 6 World Titles, and this is the first time he's even been nominated. I think.
But he's
might
no
be.
Steve Davis in the eyes of the British public, is he?
He might get a Giggs.
Yeah, he is better than Steve Davis.
Because when Giggs won it felt a bit like a kind of career win rather than of the year.
Yeah, not
So
for that. Yeah,
he might get something like that. To be fair, I don't know.
I feel like
would
they haven't
be
included
enough
Marcus Rashford
nowadays.
because he would have walked it.
Oh yeah.
Because he's got his own special prize, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think
He's just got
I thought
Person of
he'd
the
get
Year,
all of it.
basically,
Yeah.
which is all fair enough to him. So
Yeah, fair play to him.
they've limited it to sporting achievement. To be fair to them,
Yeah.
you were going to say something, Nigel.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, Ronnie's meant to, if he wins tonight in the semi-final, he'll be playing a snooker match on Sunday night at like 9, 10 o'clock. So it'll be really interesting if he gets in the top 3, how that'll work. Because they usually do a live video feed. So
be like there.
Oh, BBC will probably have the rights to it.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, they'll just go like, and then there'll be a little
really
like
if he wins tonight and
affected.
gets to the final.
You'll have Gabby Logan stood next to him, just in the wherever they're doing this game. Just like Gabby, they'll be standing there going, "Hello, Ronnie, how's it going?" And Ronnie will just be there grunting, like he doesn't like interviews, does he? He's just there, just going like looking like in his waistcoat, and then
in the red.
yeah.
Well, no, they should like as he's lining up, they just put it on the table in front of where he's lining up the shot. He's like pat and then go for it. But I thought the other interest, I was considering doing a Spotty special quiz before I decided I couldn't be bothered, and I had a assessment due in for uni, so I couldn't.
And none of us knew the rest.
Yeah, but do you know the other motorsports that have placed in the top 3 for Spotty since its inception in '54?
As in not Formula One?
Yes.
Okay.
Jonathan Ray, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I was going
cool,
for the
Superbike.
sport rather than the...
He should have been nominated this year.
We
It's
finished
a
second.
Stormer. Oh, has Colin McRae won it?
Yes.
No,
not one, but he's
top
in the
3, so WRC.
Yeah.
I don't know. British F3.
Yeah. That was a big one. No, it's karts, which is a bit of a cheat one, but it's because Mansell was doing that when he
BTCC, I
finished
guess.
the top 3. But the other interesting one was
Isle of Man TT?
no, Speedway. That's it.
Oh,
Speedway got 2 second places with a Kiwi, someone Briggs in like the 60s. And I do think Ty Wuffenden should have been nominated for it, especially when they were like giving it out to everyone and their dog who like done a sporting event. I think he should have had a nomination, but it's just too small.
I agree.
Yeah, I thought
I think they could have easily got 10 people this year, and they normally do 10, I think. So
I think they've been trying to slim it down since 2018.
They used to have like 12 or 15 nominations, and they spend the whole night doing like 5-minute interviews. And
I think this way's a lot better.
Yeah, it becomes like the first week of Strictly.
If this year had the Olympics, I feel they would have had 10.
Yeah, I think in Olympic years you should probably broaden it out a bit, but yeah, it's. I think it's quite a decent middle ground now. So.
Yeah,
it is a massive award though in the UK.
Yeah, it is. It is properly huge, and I like the fact that Hamilton's turned up to it the last few years as well, because it went through a spell where kind of half the athletes wouldn't actually turn up; they just do a video.
Andy Murray.
Yeah,
I remember Andy Murray coming third or something, and he was in like a training camp in like Lanzarote, and someone was going to hand it to him, and they were standing next to each other, and they said, "And now we present this to Andy Murray," and he had it on the table in front of him. And the person forgot to hand it to him. So Andy Murray picked it up and gave it to the person to hand to him. And I thought that was brilliant. That was the year people found out Andy Murray had a personality. When he lost Wimbledon.
Yeah. And then he did one in the Personality of the Year award after that. So
Yeah.
it was brilliant. So he's the highest. He's won the most spotties, which seems, I don't know, seems strange to me, but anyway.
It's a very interesting award because it seems to really definitely go to individual sports, despite team sports being the bigger sports.
Also, like,
and cycling, I guess, is team a bit.
But like Chris Froome's not. Chris Froome's never kind of. I don't think he's placed in the top 3, or he's you know, like,
yeah.
His
Cavendish has got it. Geraint Thomas has got it. Wiggins has got it. Yeah.
I think it is massively on kind of the connection people feel to the athletes up there, rather than necessarily achievement.
Which is why the phrase personality is so important. It's so ridiculous as a championship because, like, it does. The ones who have been nominated have all been outstanding in their fields. Ronnie O'Sullivan, Lewis Hamilton, Tyson Fury, and all of that. They've been all outstanding in their fields. So, all right, I'll name the other 3: Holly Doyle, Jordan Henderson, and Stuart Broad.
Managed to stall enough to Google it.
I didn't Google it actually. I remembered it, but I just couldn't be bothered. I couldn't remember Stuart Broad, and so yeah, they've all been outstanding in their field and all deserve the nomination. And then the next step is to win over the public, really, which is the hard bit.
Yeah. This is the Winging It F1 podcast, by the way. Still not sport. This is not the Sports Personality Day podcast.
It's been loads of podcasts.
Let's speak about it for longer then.
I've just read something quite interesting.
It's not the Nigel podcast.
Alex Albon was only told about the decision just a few hours ago.
Oh, no.
It didn't surprise me, to be honest.
I mean, Jolyon Palmer found out in Autosport, so this is the way of the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
how did Ericsson find out?
Ericsson?
So I know Drive to Survive were following him when he lost his seat, but
I think they locked the door.
Just tell him. To be honest, that didn't really surprise me. Like, he didn't really.
That says a lot about Red Bull.
I think it says a lot about Perez, really. Did they tell? Does Perez know?
Like, what can Albon do? It's not like he's in a position to look at other seats in F1 teams. So, and it's just more chance of him giving it away or letting slip, or just would he have had that drive in Abu Dhabi if he'd known that he was doomed beforehand, or did the fact that he thought he was driving for his seat, raise his game a little bit?
Or did he raise his game when he thought he had his seat? Because I think going into the Abu Dhabi weekend, we all thought Albon was nailed on for that seat. And it was only really on Sunday night that the rumours started to spill back towards Perez. So I kind of think Albon maybe was driving that weekend with a bit more security in his mind. But he shouldn't be going and looking for a team now after he's lost his seat. He should have been speaking to other teams all year, to be honest. Because if you haven't got a contract, you should be talking to as many people as you can. That's just how it is.
That's what me and Freddie and Nigel.
Perez was told quite a while ago, though. So to only tell Albon this morning is a bit. I'm not a fan of that, because I think Perez is known for at least a few days. But yeah, that's what's happened. Yeah. Do we want to carry on talking about sports personality? Yeah, I'm more than happy to.
I think I've said it. Vote Hamilton.
Vote Hamilton.
I think his achievements on and off or inside and outside of the sporting arena have been superb this season, and that deserves an award. And as over his whole career, he deserves more than one win because of his longevity and continued excellence in the field. So vote for Hamilton.
Precisely. Absolutely. If you don't care about his sporting achievements or anything, look at what he's done, as Adam says, off the track. It's been fantastic. Just absolutely brilliant all year round, before the season, during the season, and it will undoubtedly continue post-season into everything that happens in his life to come. It's fantastic. And I think Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest sports people of all time from the United Kingdom, definitely. The world.
Definitely.
So I'd say
coming up some point down the line.
Definitely we're going to have a podcast discussing different sports, because I'm good at that. So when you guys go on about, I know, some golfer from 20 years ago, I will really know what I'm talking about.
Ironically, golf's one of the sports that I wouldn't be able to talk about from or 20 years ago or anything, but continue.
Yeah. So that has been the Winging It F1 podcast, and we will have a 2-part season review coming next week with guests. who will those guests be? Well, if you're listening to this and you haven't been contacted, expect a message from Freddie or Adam any minute now. Yeah, that'll be quite interesting.
We're looking over your shoulder, waiting for you to get to this bit of the podcast.
Yeah. We should also say, get well soon to Frank Williams as well. He's in hospital in a stable condition. Hopefully, he recovers quickly. But I think apart from that, I can say goodbye and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks very much for listening. See you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good Christmas. Bye.